Going through a divorce is one of the most difficult things many people go through in their life. The reason is because there's so much at stake. It's often one of the first times folks have to go utilize the services of an attorney, one of the first times folks have to go into a courtroom, and it can all be very overwhelming and daunting. You're dealing with financial issues and you're dealing with sometimes parenting issues if there are children, minor children at stake. This Hopefully this page helps educate you a bit. Clearly, this is not legal advice, as I don't know anything about your case, and I won't unless you contact our office and we set up a time to meet. But here are some general basics of divorce in Florida, and this should help you kind of understand. There are some basic things consistent with any divorce in Florida, and if you are watching this video on YouTube, you can certainly come to our website and you'll see that there's more specific content. Actually, there's more specific content on YouTube, and there's also specific content on our website for you to review. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go through the basics of any divorce, okay? And kind of delineate between the basics of divorce with children, minor children involved, and divorce where there's no minor children. So fortunately, under Florida divorce law, we have a simple acronym that's going to help everyone, really understand and go through the process of what a divorce is. And this is very commonly known. It's called PEACE, P-E-A-C-E. Each letter obviously stands for something different. P is parental responsibility and time sharing. E is equitable distribution. A is alimony. C is child support. And E is everything else. There's everything else typically is encompassing the issue of attorney's fees, but can have some other things as well. There's other ancillary issues that come up in these cases, and we'll talk about those as well. And the reason that it's important to remember the acronym is the PEACE is actually, that's the order that these issues will be determined in your case. It's the practical order because you really need to figure out, one thing after another. You need to figure out the parental responsibility and the time sharing before, for instance, you can figure out what the child support is going to be. You need to figure out the equitable distribution before you can, and you need to figure out alimony if there is any alimony before you can figure out whether there's any attorney's fees that would be appropriate. You need to figure out equitable distribution prior to alimony and the like. So because this is not just the practical way of going through things, it's also the way that the judges will go through your case and trying to determine what to order if your case were ultimately to get to trial. This is a really logical way for you to think through your case as well. So let me take a few minutes and kind of just explain to you the basics of what each of these individual things are. But remember, we have specific pages and we have specific videos really breaking down what each of these issues are in more detail. Okay? Thanks. Okay, let's start with P for parental responsibility and time sharing. Parental responsibility and time sharing are actually two different topics, but they're grouped together because they really have to do with decision making and important issues regarding the children. Okay, so we're only talking about minor children here that are subject to that are from the marriage or from the relationship. So parental responsibility to start. Parental responsibility is major decision making regarding your children. This is major decision making. We're talking about major things, not day-to-day decisions. Day-to-day decisions are almost always going to be made by the parent that the children are with at that point in time. So if it's what to get, obviously, not to oversimplify it, but what to get at the concession stand would typically, at the movie theater, would typically be a day-to-day decision. What to have for lunch is going to be a day-to-day decision. Certainly these issues could always be raised and made to be bigger than that. But typically it's going to be a decision of the parent that's with the child at that moment in time. Okay, so then there's what we're really talking about is major decision making, medical treatment, what religion to raise the children, what school to send the children to, that sort of thing. So in the vast majority of cases, what we have is shared parental responsibility. Shared parental responsibility means, just as it sounds, you share the responsibility with the other parent. So both parents are expected to collaborate and have discussions about what is in the best interest of the child or the children and ultimately come to a decision together. Shared parental responsibility. The alternative is sole parental responsibility. The second main issue to be resolved in any divorce case is equitable distribution. Equitable distribution is otherwise known as property division, There's different types or methodologies for dividing property in divorce cases. An equitable distribution is the legal doctrine that's utilized in Florida. It's essentially comprised of determining first what's marital property and non-marital property, and there's a technical component to that. And then once you've identified the marital property, you go through a distribution that is equitable, not necessarily equal. However, courts generally will start with an equal division, and there's certain bases for deviating from an equal division of marital assets and marital liabilities.